My doctor stopped writing on his clipboard, looked me in the eye, and asked, "Who did this to you?" I was 17, sitting in the ER at 2 a.m. with a dislocated shoulder. The fluorescent lights were buzzing overhead, and I could hear someone crying in the room next to mine. I told him the same thing I told the nurse when I checked in. I fell during basketball practice, landed wrong on a layup. He didn't buy it, not for a second. Instead of writing anything down, he pulled up a chair and sat directly in front of me. His name tag said, Dr. Martinez, and he had this calm but serious look on his face that made my stomach drop. "I've been doing this for 20 years, he said quietly. "I've seen every kind of sports injury you can imagine. Falls don't leave bruises shaped like fingers on your upper arm. They don't explain the partially healed rib fracture I'm seeing on your x-ray from months ago." My throat tightened. I stared at the floor, counting the tiles, trying not to cry. Nobody had ever called it out before. Not my coach who saw me flinch when he clapped me on the back. Not my teachers who watched me wear long sleeves in 90-degree summer heat. Not my friends who stopped asking why I never invited them over anymore. "My stepdad," I finally whispered, so quiet I barely heard myself say it. Dr. Martinez didn't gasp or look shocked. He just nodded slowly, like he'd been waiting for me to confirm what he already knew. Then he stood up and said, "I'll be right back. I need to get you some pain medication." But that wasn't what he did. He stepped outside and through the gap in the curtain. I watched him walk directly to the nurse's station and pick up the phone. My heart started racing. What had I just done? My stepdad was going to kill me. My mom was going to hate me for ruining everything. 5 minutes later, Dr. Martinez came back into the room, but he wasn't alone. There was a police officer with him, a woman in uniform who introduced herself as Officer Chen. She had kind eyes, but carried herself like someone who'd seen things. "Your doctor called us," she said gently, pulling up another chair. "And before you panic, you're not in trouble. But we need to talk about what's been happening at home." Turns out, Dr. Martinez had called them the moment he looked at my x-rays. This wasn't my first visit to this hospital. 8 months ago, I'd come in with a skateboarding accident that left me with 2 cracked ribs. Before that, a bike crash that gave me a concussion. The hospital had been documenting everything, and Dr. Martinez had pulled my entire file. I broke down. I told Officer Chen everything. How it started 2 years ago when my stepdad lost his job. How he'd grab me by the arm and slam me into walls when I didn't do chores fast enough. How he'd shove me down the stairs if I talked back. How my mom would just turn up the TV volume and pretend she didn't hear anything. Officer Chen took notes, asked careful questions, and never once made me feel like I was overreacting. When I finished, she made a phone call. Then she looked at me and said, "Your stepdad's being picked up right now. You're not going back to that house tonight." Within an hour, my stepdad was in custody. They charged him with multiple counts of child abuse, and because of the hospital records Dr. Martinez had saved, they had all the evidence they needed. My mom showed up at the hospital around 4 a.m., and at first, she was furious. She screamed at the officers, at Dr. Martinez, at me. She said I'd ruined everything, that I was tearing the family apart, that I was being dramatic and ungrateful. Dr. Martinez stood between us and said firmly, "Ma'am, your son has documented evidence of repeated physical abuse. If you continue to defend the person who did this, you'll lose custody of him permanently." That seemed to snap something in her. She went quiet, stared at me with tears in her eyes, and just walked out. I stayed with my aunt and uncle that night, and for the next 2 weeks, I thought my mom had chosen him over me. I thought I'd lost both parents in one night. But then 14 days later, there was a knock on my aunt's door. It was my mom. She looked different, exhausted, but lighter somehow. She was holding a folder full of papers, and when my aunt let her in, she sat down across from me at the kitchen table. "I filed for divorce," she said, her voice shaking. "I moved out, I got a lawyer, and I've started seeing a therapist who specializes in domestic violence." I just stared at her, not sure if I could believe it. "I'm sorry," she continued, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. I didn't protect you. I was scared. I was weak. I convinced myself it wasn't that bad, that you could handle it, that if I just kept the peace, everything would be okay. But I was wrong, and I almost lost you because of it." She reached across the table and took my hand. "But I'm going to protect you now," she said. "I'm going to be the mom you deserved from the beginning." That was 3 years ago. My stepdad took a plea deal and served 18 months.